Alright, welcome to this tutorial. First, I'm gonna change the layout because I like when my scene node are near my inspector and I can split my file system. So drag the tab on the next side. Then the file system, I click this button here. So the folder and files are separated. Here, I'll go and select the inspector and move it at the bottom here, this icon. And the same for the node. And there. So when you select your scene, 2D scene, so the node properties are near the nodes and your file are easy to access. You have your folder and the files inside. So that's a layout I like. And if you go in editor layout, you can save your layout and give it any name that you want and save it. So I already have mine. And then when you start a new project, you can just come here and load it. So if I click on mine, Calam, that's my layout. So next, I'm going to change the project settings. So project settings. In here, I'm going to go down and find display window. And then here for the width and height, I'm going to divide them by 2. I'm going to do pixel art later. So lower resolution is pretty nice for pixel art. And then if you go down, stretch mode, I'm going to put it to 2D, and aspect is going to be keep. If you resize the window, it's not going to squish or stretch anything like that. All right, now we can start adding some nodes to the project. So the first node here, I'm just going to call it root. And inside here, I'm going to add a canvas layer, this one. This will be the node that will contain all the UI. Then I'm going to add another node. I'm going to add a 2D node. And this one will be the game. And I like to have a third node. This one can be simply a normal node. And this will contain the managers. But I don't think I'm going to add any for this tutorial. But if you have like the player manager or world manager, anything like that, I would put them in here. And instead of changing the whole scene, I would only insert my scene inside the game node. Kind of easier to control like that. And in here, I'm going to add a control node, and this could be my main menu. So this could be the UI. I know that I'm gonna have a option menu, and I'm gonna add another control node, and this one will be like the info. And in this, I'm gonna have like the info over the game, like the health of the player or resources that you have. So that's it for the main nodes. Now I'm gonna try to block out the menu that I want to have. So to begin, main menu, I'm going to change this control, layout, and put it full rect. So it covers all the screen. And inside this main menu, I'm going to add a color rect. I'm going to put it also full rect. And this one, what I think about adding is a kind of a background with a castle, forest, sky. So I'm just going to put a color in here. Then I'm going to have a title. For now, I'm going to put a label. But later, it's going to be a texture rect. But for now, let's do a top wide. Then this could be the name of the game. Super cool dude. Put this centered. And now let's add a small panel here and add buttons in it like start game, option, and quit. So add, I'm gonna do a color rect. I like using color rect to place my stuff since it's faster. I'm gonna hide the info and option for now. Okay, so let's put it like this. The color, I'm gonna put it dark and transparent, something like this. Zoom in. Now I'm gonna add buttons to it. So add buttons. Just put it there and start. I will duplicate it. And if you hold down shift, you can lock the control on a axis. So if you want to move your control precisely, you can do that. And when I do my blocking, I don't really use the other layout nodes just to not complicate the task. I just want to lay out the buttons approximately, and later, if I want, I can add more. So start, option, and quit. That's looking good. And that's it for the main menu. Now I'm gonna do the option menu. I'm gonna hide the main menu and show the option. So I'll do the same, layout, full rect. This one will only contain a fading effect, so I use a color rect. I'll put it full rect, put it black, and 50% about, yeah, that's about right. And I'm gonna add a back button. So add button, back. And I will center it, so layout, center. That's a pretty simple option menu. The last one is the info. So I'm gonna hide the option, show the info. Yeah, this one I'm gonna put full rect too. And for this one, I think I'm gonna have a life bar at the bottom and a resource bar at the top, just for some examples. So yeah, right click, add node, I'm gonna add a control, but this one I'm gonna shrink it completely down. And then I'm gonna go layout and center bottom. And in this one, so this one would be the life bar. And inside of this one, I will add a progress bar. For now, I'm gonna add a normal progress bar. Then I can do layout. I will do center bottom, and then click on it, hold shift to move it up a bit. And by having the anchor point at the bottom, like that, if I select my life bar and I go in rect, I can change the scale for it. So if I put 2, so yeah, it will scale from this bottom point here. So in option, you could have a scale option for the UI using the anchor point. So that's pretty much it for the live bar. Now I'm gonna add a resource bar. So add child node, control. This one I'm gonna shrink it down, layout, and this one I'll put it in the top right. Then this one will be resources and add child node. I'm gonna put a color rect, change the color dark, fade a bit there, and zoom in on it. And inside of this one, I'm going to have smaller panel that has a icon and number to tell how much of a resource you have. So add child. I'm gonna add another color rect, make it smaller like this. And inside of this one, I'm gonna add a texture rect. And to test, I could use the Godot default icon. Put it in here. You need to check expand, and then you can get it smaller. If you hold shift, you're gonna keep the ratio when you scale. I'm gonna put it on the side like this, and then I'm gonna add a label, and let's say 5. I'm gonna change the color of the panel. Let's put it some kind of color, blue, and then I'll move it in place. I'm not really gonna play with the font right now. Later, I'll change all the panels and stuff for pixel art, and I'll change the font too, and then I'm gonna play with the size of the font and stuff like that. So that's pretty good for one resource node. So this one, I can call it resource node, and I'm going to save this one as a scene. But here I will create a folder. So new folder, this will be the UI. And inside of here, I'm gonna have another folder. This will be the component. Okay, and resource node will be a component. Then this resource node, I know that I'm gonna have 4, so I'm gonna duplicate this one. So yeah, that's pretty good. I know that my first will be wood, the second one will be stone, then I'm gonna have gold, and the last would be crystal. So I could now save my resources, info, save branch as scene. I'm gonna save it in component, live bar too, save branch as scene in component. Then I'm gonna have the info. This one I'm gonna save it as scene, but this one will go in UI. Oh yeah, in here, info tscn, that's good. Then I'm gonna have the options. I'm gonna save branch as scene in the UI and the main menu too. Save branch as scene in the UI. Save. Now we can just play to see all of those. So if you go up here, play, it's gonna tell you that you need to select a basic scene, but yeah, we didn't save this one. So just save the main scene. Let's call it root, and this one will be at the base of the folder. Save that, and then if I play the game, play, It's going to ask you to select the starting scene. So select, it's going to be root, open that. And there you go. This is the main menu with the option and the resource. Everything is shown at the same time. So the next part will be to add code to all of this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I like to have a main script which is only responsible for signals. So here I'm going to create a new script. I'm gonna call it signal manager, like this. In here, I'm only gonna have signals, so I can emit them or listen to them from anywhere in the game. This is going to avoid too much code spaghetti. So let's say that I start with the first signal, start game pressed. So that's pretty simple. I'm gonna save this script, and to use it everywhere, what I'm gonna do is go in project settings, auto load, and here I'm gonna choose this script here, signal manager, open, and it's going to use this name, signal manager, add. So this one, I can use it in my code, and it's gonna refer to this script from everywhere in the code. Close that. So let's say that I go in my main menu here. I'm going to click on this icon, and this is only the main menu. And now I'm going to rename those nodes here. So this is start, this is option, this is quit. All right, this is the menu panel title, and this is the background and the main menu. So I'm gonna add a script to the main menu with this icon there. Main menu GD, that's correct, create, and I like to here template, I like to select no comments. So the script is clean. And in here, I'm gonna select start, go in the node tab, and pressed. Double click this, and just connect. It's gonna by default select the main node, and it will create the onStart pressed, connect that. I'm gonna do the same for the other buttons, pressed and quit pressed. All right, so when I click start, what I'm gonna do is call my signal manager, and then emit the signal, start game pressed. And when I do this, I also want to hide the main menu. So this will hide the main menu node. Save this. And I also want to, let's say, start the game. So what I could do is go in my root, and let's say I add a script to my game. So add a script, game, yeah. And in here, I will have to listen to the game start pressed. So to do it, I will just signal manager. And here I'm going to connect the start game pressed, and I'll connect it to this script, so self. And I'm going to connect it to which function. So I'm going to create a new function, and I like to use the same and just add the on start game pressed. That's correct. And I'm going to create the function on start game press. And what I want to do is, let's say normally you would start your game, so show your world or spawn the player and stuff like this. But here I'm just gonna print game started. And I'm gonna hide the option and the info and just start the game. So F5. So this is the game. And if I click start, the menu is hidden. And I have here at the bottom, game started. So it works. And I would like also to have the info displayed. So I'm gonna go in my info and add the script to this one. Add a script, info, yes. And this will be the same as the game. So I can copy that, info, just paste that here. But here, instead of printing the game started, I'm just gonna show. You could also just have your main menu get a reference to the info and just call info.show. This works too, but I'm just showing the signal way. Once your game becomes bigger, the signal manager is really nice then. So you don't have one script that has multiple connection to everywhere. You just connect it with the signal. So now if I start the game, I just click start, and I have my info is shown, my main menu is hidden, and my game started. Perfect. So now I'm going to do the same for option. I'm not going to hide the menu. Here I'm going to do option press. Now this could be useful if you want that when you press the option, when the option menu is shown, that the player can't move anymore or something like this. So you emit the signal and the player could listen to that and stop his execution. I will go in my options, in this option, and here I'm going to create a script option. Yes, this one will be the same as the info, kinda. So I can copy the info and just change it for here. Instead of start game, it's going to be option pressed, and on option pressed you just show. And now this is something else. When I click back, I want to hide the option menu, so pressed, just leave it like that. So here on back pressed, I can simply do hide. But then if you stop the player control or something like that, you would need to send a signal option closed, and your player could listen to it and then resume the control or anything that you change by opening the options. So let's see if the option menu works. Start, option, the option show, there's a fade, you can click on anything else and go back, and we're back to the menu. All right, so that's working. And now for the quit, this one is quite simple. This is simply get tree and quit. That's pretty much it for the main menu for the code. So the next thing is going to be some tricks to deal with getting a node in the tree and make sure it doesn't break later if you modify the layout in the tree. So I'm going to go in info, and I'm going to start with the resources. I add a script to it, and I go in. Here I'm going to get a reference to those nodes: wood, stone, gold, crystal. So what you can do to get the node is have a onReady var, and let's say wood is equal to get node, and here you would say color rect, and you would say get node and color rect wood. But now let's say I change the name of this to change it for panel. Now the link is broken, the path is broken, so this will not get the wood anymore. So to change that, what you can do is you could export a node path. Yeah, export node path, then wood. So by doing this, when you click on your resource here and go in the inspector, you export the variable in the inspector. So you can click assign and select the wood. So now the path will always be the same. And if I change the name of this, it will update. So in my code, this will always be the path. But then what you have to do in your code would be to go var wood node is equal to get node wood. So then you get your node here. You can have a shortcut for this instead. What you can do here, when you export your var wood, you can add a onReady, so it will be executed when the scene is ready. This will be equal to get node wood, and then you can do as control, and then you can remove that. This wood variable will be the node, and this here at the end you can change it for something else. So if it's a custom class or custom object, you can change it here. Because this is a color rect, this could be changed to color rect. So I can do that for all of the other one. There you go. And now I'm going to go in the resource node, and I'm going to add a script to this resource node to change the value and display the correct icon. So in here, resource node, create. So this one I'm going to do the same. I'm going to get a reference to the texture rect and the label. So the label will be quantity, and this will be the icon. So in there, I can just go here and copy one of those. So this will be the icon, and this one will be as a texture rect, and the other one will be a label and quantity. But then you must not forget to go to save your script and then click on the main one and assign those value. So icon is the icon, quantity is the quantity. And I need to do the same for this one here. So resource, I have the wood, stone is the stone, gold. So now all my node are set, perfect. If I go back in my script for my resource node, I'm going to add a variable to set the icon. So this one, I could just export a normal value. So this will be a texture, var icon texture. So then with this, what I can do is on ready, I could tell icon texture is equal to icon texture. So then when I start the game, I'll see my texture. And I'm going to add a function here, set quantity. I'm going to take a int as a parameter. And with this, I'm just going to do quantity.text is equal to the quantity, but this is a int, so I need to change it to a string, str. This will update my quantity. And with this, I'm going to go back in my resource, and in ready, just to test if everything works, I'm going to call that function. Oh, and also here, if I do just wood dot, I don't have the set quantity. I don't see it because I don't know that this has this function. So what I can do here is add a class name. So class name resource node. So if I call it like this, then if I save, I can go back in my resource here, and as control, it's going to be as resource node. So now I can see set quantity. If you press control space, it will bring back the autocomplete. So set quantity, and I'm just going to set a random quantity. So rand I and modulo, let's say 20. So it should give me a value between 0 and 19, I guess. I'm going to do it for all 4. If I start the game and click start, I should have 4 random value for my resource. So start. So yeah, I have 9, 10, 7, and 0. And since I didn't set the texture icon, it's empty. So what I can do is go on my wood, and I can just give it the default icon. And if I start, my wood should have something. So yeah, my wood has a small icon. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the blocking of the UI and the coding. Next part is going to be some pixel art and applying the pixel art to all of this. All right, let's do a quick time lapse and I'll be back. All right, so now let's apply those assets to the game. I'm going to go in UI and I'm going to create a new folder, sprites. I'm going to get my sprites here, select everything and just drag it inside Godot. I also have a font, and if you want to get some nice font, I could recommend this website, 1001fonts.com. You can search for pixel or you can search for anything, find something that you like here. If you check this icon here, only show fonts that are free for commercial use, then you should be good to use these fonts in your project. And I'm going to import just a font. I'm going to create a new folder, font, and inside here, I'm going to import just this one. Let's make this main menu a bit nicer. So let's go in the menu. The background, I'm going to change it, change type. This is going to be a texture rect. And oh yeah, and first in Sprite, I'm going to select everything here. In import, the import tab, I'm going to select preset and 2D pixel and re-import. This will make sure that they are sharp image and not blurry. For pixel art, it's pretty important. So yeah, texture rect, I'm going to drag this texture screen here, and I'm going to check expand. The title, I'm going to change the type for texture rect 2, and I'm going to drag title and check expand. And this one, I'm going to change the stretch mode for keep centered, or you can also check keep aspect centered, which will scale it with the size. Let's use this one. Now for the menu, I'm going to change the type to, and this one will be a 9 patch rect. 9 patch rect. Then I'm gonna use my main panel texture. Yeah, put it there, and now it's a bit weird, but if I make this a bit bigger and zoom in, this, you need to move the dotted line inside, so you tell what part of this you want to scale and not to scale. And there you go. So now what I can do is resize a bit my buttons. And now my buttons are kind of weird because they're not the same size. So now I could use a control box. So I'm going to go in my menu panel, add a child node, and I'm going to use a VBox container, vertical box container. I'm going to put all my buttons in it. And now the VBox container, I'm going to go in layout and full rect. And then I'm going to resize it so it fits inside. That's about right. And now we're going to apply the texture for the buttons. But for that, we're not going to apply them directly to the buttons itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click my main UI, and in theme here, I'm going to create a new theme, and I'm going to save this one in UI, call it main theme. So then if I go in my UI folder, select main theme, and all the way here at the top, edit theme, add class item, and here I'm going to add a button and add all. So this will allow me to add a style for all the buttons that are in the tree here. So style disabled, I'm going to add a new style box texture, click on it, and then I need to set this texture at the top. So I'm going to go back in my sprite and button disabled and there. And I'm going to do the same for the other one. Okay, and now I'm going to add the font also for the buttons. Font, I'm going to add a new dynamic font. Then you just click on it and font, and here you can add the font that you imported earlier. Here, now this is a bit big, so settings, let's do 14. 14 is pretty nice. The other thing I'd like to have is that the button would stretch to take all the space. If I select my buttons here, I can go down in size flag and vertical, check expand. So the button will take all the space it can. And let's do this for all the other one. Size flag, expand, and now you can move it a bit, and there. That's pretty good. So that's pretty much it for the main menu. Let's save it. And if we test, that's what it looks like. So can start, option, but now if I go in option, the button is not set here. And if I just want to add the same style, what I can do is add a child node, just a control, and put those child of this control. And check the control and layout full rect. So this control theme, you can add main theme. And now if I start and I go in option, my back button has the same theme. And now let's do the style for the resources and the health bar. I'm going to go and do the resources first. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use the same panel as the main menu. So I'm going to right click resources. I'm going to click merge from scene. I'm going to go in UI and select my main menu, and I'm going to select the menu panel. Okay, this will import the main menu, and I'm going to delete everything inside, and I'm going to use this one and resize it, and this will be my resource panel. I'm going to take those node and move them inside my menu panel. I'm going to delete this old panel, and let's place those. Since earlier we did those node, they're not broken, they're still there. So I don't have to change anything in my variable. and it's still gonna work. So if I start and click start, my resources are still working. That's pretty cool. So this will be panel. So now let's change the style of those nodes. So if I go inside, I'm gonna do a font for my quantity label, and I'm gonna click here, new dynamic font. I'm gonna do the same font. I'm gonna go in font, select this one, put it there. And this one, the settings, I'm gonna change the size, let's say 10. Yeah, 10 is pretty good. And I'm gonna make it centered. Okay, so the panel, I'm gonna change type. I'm gonna use a 9 patch rect again. So I need to put my small panel in texture here. This is the variable for my nodes. So zoom in, move the dotted line. All right, could make it a bit bigger. Okay, so now if I save this, I'm going to go back in my resource. I'm gonna resize those a bit. For this, you could use a HBox container horizontal, but I'm just gonna keep them like that. And now here for my wood, I'm gonna put their icon. So wood is this small tree icon. The stone is gonna be this one, gold and crystal. So that's pretty much it. So if I start the game, oh, yeah, here I have a problem because I changed the type of my resource node. It's not a color rect anymore, it's a 9 patch rect. 9 patch rect. I'm gonna change it here. You could just set it a control. It would work. You just don't have access to the 9 patch rect function in your code, but if you want to have it, you can change it to 9 patch rect. So let's start it. Go in code and start. And there you go. So I have 9 wood, 10 stone, 7 gold, and 0 crystal. Pretty good. Now let's just do this small life bar, and that should be good. So info, life bar here. So here I use the progress bar, but I'm gonna change it for a texture. So I could just change the type like this, texture progress, and it's in texture here. I'm gonna do progress frame in under and progress life in progress. And I'm gonna check 9 patch stretch, so it takes all the space. And let's change the value for something like 66. And there you go. There it is. So for this, you could create a script, and in your signal manager, you could have a player life changed, and here you would connect the signal on player life changed and get the life and maybe maximum life and update your progress bar. So you would just listen to a signal, and if the player is not there anymore, it's not gonna crash or anything because it's only listening to the signal. The signal will just not be emitted. So that's pretty much it for this simple UI main menu tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you have any suggestion of what I could do next, please let me know. Thanks for watching. It was pretty cool, and I'll see you next time, I guess.